Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah al-Kareem. Welcome back to another episode of Life's Adornments, where we'll be talking about child rearing, its virtues, its trials and tribulations, its benefits. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, Al-mal wal-banun zinatul hayati dunya. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also said in another ayah, زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ شَهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ وَالْبَنِينَ. So we find in the Quran and in authentic tradition that there's a praiseworthy nature of raising children. It has many benefits, many things that make people joyous, but also there's many trials and tribulations, there's much difficulty, and there's ways in which you can ease that. And one of the easiest things to do is to have knowledge of these things from how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us in the Quran and how the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taught us in the Sunnah. We have our honored guest today, Sheikh Assim Al Hakeem, who came all the way from Saudi to share with us his immense knowledge and his wisdom. And he is a teacher at Zad Academy and also a teacher at KIU and an imam and teacher for over 30 years. Bismillah, mashallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan for having me.
Ameen wa yak. It's always an honor and pleasure to have you, Sheikh.
The honor is all mine. Barakallah fi.
Alhamdulillah. We would like to start by talking about tasmiyah, the naming of the child, something that all parents look forward to, choosing a name. What are some sunan, what is the proper way to go about picking a name for a child?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala al-mab'uth rahmatan lil alameen. Nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd. Naming a child is something that is part of the sunnah to be done usually on the 7th day of the child's birth. Why do we say usually? Because it was proven from the authentic sunnah that the Prophet ﷺ named his last son Ibrahim on the night he was born. So he did not wait until the 7th day. So if a couple choose to name their child before even being born, there's no problem in that. If they decide to postpone the naming till the 7th day, again, this is okay and it's part of the sunnah. Alhamdulillah, there's flexibility in it. Naming a child is an Islamic concept because usually the name does not reflect on a person's life as some non-Muslims think, who depend on astrology and thinking that the zodiacs and the stars have an impact on a person's course of life. Muslims don't believe in this because this is shirk, associating others with Allah. Only Allah Azza wa Jal does this. However, names do reflect on a person's personality. And this is why it is part of the rights of a child to be given a good name. The Prophet ﷺ, whenever he heard a bad name, he would change it. So a woman or a girl's name was Asiyah, meaning sinful. So he changed it. A woman's name was Barra, which means righteous, and this is self-praising. So the Prophet ﷺ changed it as well. So names that have bad meanings, or names that praise a person, being virtuous, being pious, being righteous, these names, it's recommended to be changed. Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, may Allah have mercy on his soul, one of the imams of the tabi'een, one of the fuqaha of Medina. He says that my father's name was al-Musayyib and his father was Hazan. Hazan was a companion. And Hazan in Arabic means rough, tough, not easy to deal with. So a road is Hazan when it's really rough. You need a 4x4 to drive through. So Hazan came to the Prophet ﷺ. He gave him the Pledge of Allegiance, introduced himself. My name is Hazan, meaning rough and tough. So the Prophet said, no, your name is Sahal.
Sahal, no.
So he changed it to the opposite, which is easygoing. So the man said, O Prophet of Allah, I'm not going to change a name my father gave to me.
Subhanallah.
So he rejected the proposal. See, it was not an instruction. The Prophet did not order him. And this is something that Muslims must be aware of. When the Prophet orders us to do something, you have no choice but to comply, or you would be sinning. And this would be just obeying Allah, who ordered you to obey the Prophet ﷺ. But when the Prophet gives a recommendation, it's up to you. And this is a footnote. I sometimes make big footnotes, so excuse me if I divert a little bit. Barira was a concubine, was a slave woman, who was married to Mughith, who was a slave. She managed to set herself free by asking Mother Aisha to help her buy herself off from her owners. Mother Aisha did so. So she set herself free. When a slave woman becomes free, she has the option to remain married to a slave man or separate from him, because now she is free and he's a slave. So she chose her freedom and to separate from her husband. Mughith loved her so much, so he went to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him to intervene, to intercede. So the Prophet went to Barira and said, Barira, it would be best if you stay with your husband. Look at what this companion said, because she is knowledgeable. She said, are you ordering me? The Prophet said, no, I'm just interceding. Now she knows that it's not an instruction, rather a recommendation. So she said, O Prophet of Allah, I do not want him, I do not need him. So coming back again to Hazan. Hazan, name was changed by the Prophet as a recommendation and not an instruction. Because if it's an instruction, then he would be disobeying the Prophet, and this is a major sin. So the Prophet ﷺ let it be. What does Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, who's the grandson, say? He says, Subhanallah, since he refused to change the name, this toughness and rudeness ran down through all of the generations of the family. So all of us are known to be undiplomatic and unapologetic, tough and rough, though they're not sinful, but it's a character. So names do impact the personality of a person, but not as the astrologists say, rather because of the meaning of the name. And this is why. It is always best to give good names to a child. In Al-Bukhari, the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wassalam, Ahabbul asma, the most beloved names to Allah are Abdullah and Abdul Rahman. In other sources of hadith, and the most truthful of names are Al-Harith wal-Hammam. So Abdullah and Abdul Rahman, we know. These are the names of Allah. Allah loves his names. So if you call your son Abdullah or Abdul Rahman, you are calling them with the best names to Allah Azza wa Jal. But what about Al-Harith and Al-Hammam? The most truthful names. What is meant by truthful? Scholars say Harith is the one who works hard. It's like the one plowing the ground, but actually he's working. So any Tom, Dick or Harry, if you call him Harith, this name would fit him as a glove, because he's either working for this dunya or he's working for the akhirah. He's working. No one sits idle doing nothing. Hammam is or means to intend to do. And every single individual on earth intends to do good or intends to do bad. No one sits idle without intending to do. You intend to eat, you intend to sleep, you do something and you proceed with that. So it's truthful in the sense that it fits like a glove. Any person you name him with that name. So these are some of the etiquettes. Now, a lot of the Muslims have problems with naming. In the sense, in the subcontinent, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and also in Egypt, in countries like Syria, the Levant countries, they give the child two names. So his name is Arif. They call him Muhammad Arif. They add Muhammad as a form of blessing. So the Prophet is named Muhammad alayhi salam. So we always call a person Muhammad Sadiq, Muhammad Al-Amin, Muhammad Tariq. And everybody knows him as Tariq. So why confuse the people by giving him names? For barakah. This is an innovation. All the companions used to give only one first name. And this would confuse people, because when I hear someone's name, Muhammad Tariq, I would say his name is Muhammad and his father's name is Tariq. And if his father's name is Muhammad Sadiq, then I would say that these are four names for four different people, when it's actually two people, Muhammad Tariq and Muhammad Sadiq.
But isn't that a matter of urf, of a person naming someone?
I would not say it's haram,
Yeah.
but I would say it is inappropriate, especially when it becomes an innovation, thinking that this is a blessing. A lot of the girls call Fatima Bigum or Fatima Khadija. So they put Fatima for the love of the daughter of the Prophet ﷺ with another female's name. And this is again confusing people, and one should not do it. We spoke, I think, before that the naming process is the right of the father. But if someone else gives a name and he approves of it, then this is good. So the Prophet ﷺ called Al-Hasan and Al-Hussein, his grandsons, and it was approved by Ali, may Allah be pleased with him. The mother may call her son or daughter with a name, and if her husband approves of it, then this is okay. But at the end of the day, it is his God-given right.
Okay. What would you say about the name, given examples that you gave, Fatima Zahra, like things of this nature? And are you also saying that to name your son, like say Muhammad, with the intention of barakah, that that's bid'ah?
Yes. Okay. This is not. See, there is a hadith circulating among the Muslims, خَيْرُ الْأَسْمَاءِ مَا عُبِّدَ وَحُمِّدَ, which translates to the best of names that has abd before the name of Allah, or Muhammad, Ahmad, Mahmud, Hamid, anything that has the praising meaning of it in the name. And this hadith is not at all authentic, so one should not apply it.
Inshallah ta'ala, we're going to stop here and we're going to have a break. But after the break, we will continue about the sunnah of child naming, the sunnah of shaving the head when a child is born, inshallah ta'ala. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to our episode of Life's Adornments. This is our second segment, and we're talking about naming. There's so many issues that comes up when it comes to choosing a good name, what names are best, what names should we stay away from. So alhamdulillah, we have Sheikh Assim to clarify some of these matters. Sheikh Assim, we would like to know, many times, particularly in the West, people are born with Western names, Christian names many times. You have Michael, these biblical names, and then they become Muslim. So is it best for a person to keep their name, or should they change their name? Is there anything thabit from the Quran and Sunnah that says a person should choose a name from the Anbiya or the Sahaba or things of this nature?
Thabit meaning?
Thabit meaning like is lazim, you have to do it, or is there some flexibility?
So that the viewers would not say Thabit, well, this is a good name.
Yeah, Thabit is a good name.
Yeah. See, generally speaking, it's an issue of dispute among scholars, but as anything that's disputable, we go back to the early times of tashri', of legislation, which is the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the best of times ever witnessed on this earth. So those who came into Islam, they had Arab names. And some of their fathers' names would be Abd ad-Dar or Abd Manaf. And these are names which are not part of Allah's names. So how can we call the servant of Yoda, for example,
Yeah.
if someone is interested in Star Wars,
Yeah.
or the servant of Ram, or Krishna, or whatever. So the Prophet did not change his names. He only changed the names that had a bad meaning. So if someone's name is a dog, he would change it. If someone's name is Shaitan, he would change it. If someone's name is so aggressive and offensive, he would change it. Other names he kept. So now it's up to the individual. A man's name is Michael. A girl's name is Jeanette or Tracy. And she accepts Islam. She says, well, people around her say, you're now Fatima. You're now Zainab. She was born with this name, and she's now in her 30s or 40s. Everybody knows her with this name. Why change? She says it's part of the identity. No, it's not. It's even easier for you as a Muslim to live and communicate with others by keeping your name. But when you come and say, my name is so-and-so, and it's different than your passport, than your ID, than your diploma in high school, and your bachelor degrees, your PhDs, and all the social security number. Why are you putting so much pressure on yourself for no Islamic reason? So I personally see that keep your name. Your name is John. John is a good name. Keep it. Because this is what your father called you.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason. It's not, even if it's a biblical name, it's not something that is worshipping other than Allah
Sure.
Azza wa Jal. But if you come and tell me, okay, my name is Noah, should I call myself Nuh? My name is Abraham. Should I call myself Ibrahim? My name is Isaac. Should I call myself Ishaq? The Arabic, Islamic wording. This is acceptable because these are prophets' names, and calling them by the Islamic name is better. But if it's going to confuse others, if it's going to cause an issue for you, keep your old name as it is. Now, having said that, I live in the West. Me and my wife, we're Muslims. We're blessed with a child. Should I call my child John or David? No. Here it's a different issue. Now the child is a Muslim. So I should give him a Muslim name. Unlike a lot of the Muslims, they feel this inferiority complex. So if the boy's name is Muhammad, in the States you know this.
Yeah, sure.
What's your name? He said Mo. Mo as in moron or what? He said no, Mo as in short of Muhammad. You should not shorten that. Mo is not an appropriate name. Your name is Muhammad. You should be proud of that. And we should give our children a name to look up for. So if I call my daughter Diana, it's different than if I call her Arwa, or I call her Salma, or I call her Asma. These are names with a history. So when the child grows up, they always at the back of their mind, yes, my name is Muhammad. Muhammad was the messenger of Allah, and he's the messenger of peace. I should be something like that. Other than calling him with a name that may negatively reflect on his upbringing.
Interesting. So you mentioned about the hikmah of a person going years with having a particular name and then becoming Muslim and not wanting to upset that strain of time.
As long as it's a name.
A good name.
Not even a good name.
Yeah.
It's a normal name.
A normal name.
It does not have something to be called after a god, for example,
Sure.
of the idol worshippers. No, this is something you have to change if it's your first name.
Excellent. Okay, so moving forward now, what about the shaving of the head of the child? Is this something that's just for boys or for boys and girls alike? Is there a significant period of time that it has to be done in? And if it is okay for a person to leave it, to not do it as well?
Okay, but before we move to shaving the head,
Yeah, there are some.
I think that also a lot of the times the Muslims ask about giving names that are known to be Allah's names.
Yes.
So we know that Allah has 99 names. Whoever counts them, whoever understands them will enter Jannah. And Allah's names are not limited to 99. They're far more than that. But this is what the hadith stated. So a lot of the people ask, Sheikh, is it permissible to call your son Kareem? And Kareem means generous. Or your name, Sheikh, is Assim Al Hakeem. And Al Hakim is one of Allah's names. So how can this be? We always explain it to the people that the names of Allah Azza wa Jal are divided into two categories. Names that are sort of mutual, can be used to call Allah with, and it also can be used to call humans with. And this is mentioned in the Quran. For example, in Surah Yusuf, what was the title given to Yusuf and to the king before him? It was Al-Aziz.
Al-Aziz, yes.
And we all know that Al-Aziz is one of Allah's names. But in the surah itself, Ya Ayyuhal Aziz, Ya Ayyuhal Aziz, they're calling a kafir king, and they're also calling Yusuf, who is a prophet of Allah, and he never told them, stop doing that. Likewise, Allah Azza wa Jal described Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam as being Ra'uf Rahim. And these are two also names of Allah Azza wa Jal. And you can go on and on and on. So such names that are mutual in use can be used to call a son with it. So you can call your son Rahim. You can call your son Hakim, Rashid. Rashid, though, it's an issue of dispute whether it's one of Allah's names or not. Some authenticate it, some say it's not, and so on. There are other names that cannot be used except with Allah Azza wa Jal, such as Khaliq, the creator. You can't call someone, hey Khaliq, what's happening?
Yeah.
This is for Allah Azza wa Jal. Ar-Razzaq, the provider. You can't say to someone, okay, he's my Razzaq, he's my boss at work. No, this is only for Allah. Ar-Rahman, Allah. These are only used with Allah Azza wa Jal and no one else, and so on.
Okay. What about with regards to the names of the Malaika?
Okay, the names of the angels is again an issue of dispute. And a lot of the scholars prohibit this. And some scholars say that this is permissible. And the most authentic opinion is that it is permissible only when used with male children. Why? Because it is the tendency of the idol worshippers to call the angels as females. And Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned this in the Quran. And when He says that they made the angels of Allah to be females, did they notice their creation? Nay, their testimony would be noted down and they will be questioned about it on the Day of Judgment. So scholars say it is totally prohibited. It's totally prohibited to give the name of an angel like Jibril, Mikael, Israfil to a baby girl. Not only that, even the name of Malak or Malak, it cannot be given to a female because this would be imitating and mimicking the ways of the idol worshippers who label them. And you may ask, okay, what's the gender of angels? They don't have a gender. But in Arabic and all other languages, the prominence is always to the male gender in pronouns and in description. So yes, they don't have a gender. They're not, we don't say they're male or females. They are genderless. Allah created them like this. But when we talk about them, we say the Archangel Gabriel, he came to the Prophet ﷺ. We don't say she or we don't say it because this is inappropriate. So we give the Archangel Gabriel the prominent gender or the prominent pronoun, which is the masculine pronoun.
Okay. Are there any other things that we should look forward to or look away from when it comes to naming children?
You should not name your children in a bad way that would impact them in the future. In Arabia, it's a tendency among the locals that when a child is born, for their fear of evil eye, they give him a bad name, such as peasant, beggar, poor man. So whenever you ask, what's the boy's name? She says, oh, he's peasant. Nobody thinks of giving him an evil eye or say, oh, what's a good name? They would just look down at him.
Yeah.
But imagine that a person with such a name grows to be a general in the army. So general peasant. People would be confused, would look down at him, would mock him. So giving bad names is not a good thing. Giving weird names. In Arabia nowadays, if you say to someone, call your son Ali, call him Umar, said, no, these are too old names. I'm going to call him a new name. And he brings a name that is maybe archaic, maybe old, but nowadays it's, what is this? So you should fear Allah Azza wa Jal, choose a good name that has a nice sound to it for your child, so that your child does not grow up hating you or thinking, why did my father give me such a name? So that would not impact him negatively.
Okay, and lastly, what about giving children a kunya?
Okay, that's a good question.
Yeah.
This is part of the sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ used to give kunya to youngsters. So for example, there was Khalid, bint Khalid. She's a very young Sahabi companion girl. She's like 7 years of age. And he used to call her Khalid. The brother of Anas ibn Malik, he's used to be nicknamed as Aba Umayr. And the Prophet, he was like 4 or 5 years of age. The Prophet used to say, Aba Umayr, Mada fa'al nughayr. We have Abu Huraira, and he did not have a son by the name of Huraira. We have Abu Bakr, and he did not have a son by the name of Bakr. Abu Hafs, the name of Umar, and he did not have a son by the name of Hafs. So this is part of the sunnah. Each individual has to have a nickname because it's an act of respect to call someone. Instead of calling you Abu Yusuf, what's happening? Instead of calling you Yusuf, what's happening? I would call you Abu Najashi. What is happening? This is sign of respect.
Yeah, barakallahu feek, Sheikh. Thank you, as always, for your immense knowledge and wisdom. Alhamdulillah, we're going to end the episode here today, inshallah ta'ala. Viewers, thank you for tuning in with us. Stay tuned for another episode of Life's Adornments. We appreciate your viewership, inshallah. You benefited much. Until next time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.